Hello, everybody. We are back. This is our series for the European Crossroads in Essen, nearby Essen. And now we have Geoffrey as co-caster. Welcome, Geoffrey. Amen.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, round two. This is Archimago versus Pathfinder, and it is yourself versus Eunice from Contested Cards. So, this is probably a match that you vividly remember. So, very curious how that went for you. So, nice to have you on board. And perhaps let's just jump in right away in the Archimago decklist, which in this case is actually yours. So, can you quickly talk me through it? What is the idea of Archimago? Question one and question two is like, oh, you also played this one at Sorcery Fest. You actually won Sorcery Fest. Is there anything that you changed in regards to the meta or the last months in preparation for the Crossroads?
Yeah, so this is your pretty standard Archimago super control list. This one splashes fire, which is pretty common. The goal is to just survive the early game, manage the mid game, and then eventually maybe close the game through big spells like Creator Rise. It's pretty similar to what I played at Sorcery Fest. There's a couple of cards that I was trying out then that I cut off, like Jin. And on the flip side, I've added more tokens given the current meta. I would say my touch on this version of the list is probably chains. Not everyone plays chains in Archimago, but this is something I really enjoy. So.
Change. I played against this. This is really very cruel because you have a lot of board wipes, and basically the chains stay on the board, and the first minion you cast, it gets tapped, and you really have to need more time to build up before new board wipes arrive. So amazing deck. Let's have a look at your opponent, Eunice from Contested Cards. He's playing a Pathfinder. What is he trying to achieve?
Yeah, so this is a Pathfinder Air Earth list. Pathfinder usually leverages big amounts of mana just because it gets to ramp very easily. And so you'll see a lot of the big spells like Crater Rise, like Highland Cleansman, Thundering Giant, Sky Baron. All of these big dudes and hoping to leverage their power through things like grapple shots, whirling blades. Yeah, essentially survive the early game, drop big dudes, and hope it's enough to close the game.
Looking forward to the deck that can handle Archimago. And yeah, this has a lot of big beasts. Of course, I guess you have an idea what is about to happen. I don't, I didn't watch the video, but if you would just say you are paired this round, is there somebody in favor, you think?
It's hard to say. I think knowing the list now, which obviously I didn't know at the time, I'd say Archimago might be a little bit more favored because it is a really good deck at dealing with minions after minions. But at the time I sat down at the table, if I see Pathfinder, I don't know what to expect. It could be a more aggressive air fire version, which could give me trouble. So
Okay. Well, let's dive into the game. And we see here, I don't
yep.
know who was going to play first.
I think they do, I want to say. My
Okay.
memory is a bit hazy now. I truly don't mind in the matchup going second or first. So
Okay.
I think it's more telling to see what they're going to pick to know whether or not they're more aggressive or a bit more mid-range.
Okay. Here we go. What is it that you hope to see every game in an Archimago deck? Is that a thing, or is it really depending on what the avatar is or your opponent is?
There's a couple things that you always want to see no matter the matchup. A turn 2, typically, so Common Sense, a Blink, or Leprechaun. Like, you really want to make full use of your mana every turn, and turn 2 is maybe the turn where you don't have something like that. And site-wise, you just want to see thresholds. If you expect to be in a matchup where the opponent is going to be aggressive very early, then a defensive side is good.
Sure.
And speaking of, we see a Tor as the first site for Archimago, which is perfect for threshold fixing. Pathfinder opens with a tower, not able to make use of the accelerated mana, so that's a bit of a shame. But we do see, if you're in the game, you see Pathfinder, you see the first color finally. So you start to get a sense of like, okay, at least I know they're in air.
Pebbled pots can be devastating for some more aggressive decks, I presume, versus the Pathfinder is not that relevant. There are some Thundering Giants, I guess.
It could be, yeah. So we just saw the deck list: Thundering Giant, Highland Clansman. It's actually pretty
True,
relevant.
true. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, we see turn 2 for Archimago as a common sense for common sense. This helps fill the graveyard at essentially no cost, versus a Highland Princess for the Pathfinder. So we haven't seen the second color yet. That's always a problem with Pathfinder. You're a bit at the mercy of your Atlas. But a princess getting a Philosopher's Stone means we are ready to accelerate in mana.
Hmm. What is the sweet spot? I guess they want to reach 6, 7 mana as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so having seen the deck list, I do think 6, 7, even 8 for Craterize, right, is where you want to be and
Hmm.
put pressure with big spells every turn.
Yeah.
We see the second color coming up in the corner, and we see the Philosopher's Stone that we fetched with the Princess the turn before.
So I guess depending on the deck versus aggro, it is Ring of Morgan versus you. You both want to ramp, so it's Philosopher's Stone, of course.
Yeah, I think Philosopher's Stone could help bring a bit of speed in this matchup, which is probably what they're looking for in order to overpower the Archimago.
Hmm.
Currently, the Archimago not really under pressure, so we've seen common sense for common sense, common sense for common sense 2 turns in a row, just filling that graveyard, and we might see the last one, common sense for common sense,
Wow.
and then using the remaining 2 mana. I think we're gonna exile the graveyard and cast a second common sense. So turn 4, we've gone through all of our common sense, and we really got to Scald and Scald our hand and build some card advantage, essentially.
Hmm. Seems a great way to start.
Yeah, you can do that as Archimago if you're not pressured in the early game. Like, you know, that many common senses early is not something you can do in every matchup.
Hmm.
But because the Pathfinder elected to go sideways, um, the realm are still not connected. Archimago is not really under pressure.
Hmm.
The pebble path in the middle means there's very little surprise that can happen, especially in those color combination.
Sure.
So feeling pretty safe for the time being.
And I guess because by now you know what you're playing against, and there is no funeral pyre, so I guess that has a big influence in how you play the deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if they were in fire, it's a one-off, right? It's a restriction of Pathfinder. Your Atlas needs to be all uniques or all singletons. Um, so worst case, you're facing one. But we do see the first big minion. That's a vampire on turn 4, thanks to the Philosopher's Stone discount. And
Is a vampire annoying for you? I mean, is it differently than any, or is it just another creature? Because I guess your damage comes very late.
yeah, I think all creatures look the same to
Yeah,
Archimago because the
exactly.
removal is excellent.
Hmm.
You get to play spells like Bury, you get to play spells like Chaos Twister, Poison Nova, all of those spells. Don't care if it's 2 power minion, a 4 power minion, a 10 power minion, they will kill them regardless. So we essentially need to be able to answer every minion that comes down that's somewhat a little bit scary, and I think the vampire is no exception here.
Sure. You mentioned going sideways for the Pathfinder. It's always like a decision. Like, do you go up or do you go left? I understand with if you play with Pilgrims, you want to really move to the corner. So why did he went here to the corner and not moving forward?
It's a good question. I am not too sure. I think in that matchup they could afford to take the middle of the board very early on.
Hmm.
Um, it could be just that they are used to facing aggressive decks, and so it's a bit of a habit that they didn't consider to change for that matchup. We
Hmm.
also see here, so the vampire was answered through a common sense and a bury.
Oh.
We see the Pathfinder continuing to develop its mana base along with a root spider and an egg. Interestingly, um, they're going to pass the turn here, and they could have actually moved the Cloud City because they
Indeed.
now have the threshold onto site, I believe, is 13.
Because I was
And
looking at this, it's like it's dangerous. Now you are in a position to put aside where you are placing it right now.
exactly.
I mean, I know he plays with the fine courser, he probably can get out of it, but potentially it's some tempo loss.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very likely a Blink or a Fine Courser can unlock them all the same, but I think it was pretty free given it's an Archimago and they're unlikely to punish you taking the middle here. So definitely one thing that could have gone different here. Um, the other thing to call out is maybe the egg and the root spider. So the egg currently has been put in the Pathfinder's hand. It could have been put underground in the root spider.
True.
And we see a dispel cast from the Archimago on both the Peastone and the Angel Egg. So a little nice, not really a 2-for-1 because the Peastone was fetched by the Princess, but still a bit of value left to dispel, managing 2 cards.
Yeah, true.
And now,
So, go ahead.
I was going to say, now we see the fact that like Pathfinder did not have a Blink or a Fine Courser and actually has to attack the site in order to try and traverse to the other side and continuing developing the mana. So both the Princess and the Pathfinder attacked here. So I think that will bring the Archimago player down to 18. Small chip damage, but you got to start somewhere.
True. But I guess we are already, I don't know, turn 8 or something into the game, turn 7. I guess you must be feeling good by now. Or does it depend on the cards that you currently have? Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely feel better after that one. So that's a Grandmaster Wizard, allowing me to refill the hand a little bit with 3 spells. To answer your question, feeling good. It's always a bit scary because you don't truly know what your opponent is up to. And Pathfinder has access to so much mana in the late game that you need to think through any kind of like big combos that could bring you down from 20 to 0. It could be, I don't know, a Jin. It could be any kind of shenanigans that you're not prepared to face. So not feeling too confident, but definitely
Okay.
feel like the early game has been managed at least.
Yeah. Step 1, success. So yeah, because I don't play Archimago myself, so I'm always like, oh, by turn 6, 7, they're just in the driver's seat. But so that is not true. It really there are multiple ways to do alpha strikes, etc. Or do you know really 100% the deck list what you're playing right now?
I don't, and Pathfinder is always
Okay.
scary because they can play really anything. So we see a very similar turn as last turn with a Princess attack and a Pathfinder attack. Which will bring the Archimago down to 16. So continuing the chip damage.
Yeah.
But again, it's 2 turns in a row that Pathfinder doesn't get to develop its mana because the Archimago player was allowed to kind of take the middle of the board.
Yep.
This won't happen for a 3rd turn because the Pathfinder now has 2 adjacent locations. And as a result, the Archimago players, in that case me, decided not to continue blocking endlessly because I can't block both in the same turn, so I might as well retreat a little bit.
Let me see there. The first guards being played. I love these cards.
It's a great card. It's probably one of the so this is the first spell where the Archimago player is saying, okay, I feel confident, the board is not bad, I can be a bit more proactive. And that's a guards for 6 mana, creating 8 token.
Yeah, the value is insane. It's really funny. It's. I was like, why are you placing Arthur Harris on the board? I actually never have seen these huge tokens. Actually, it's very nice.
And there's been a divine healing as well,
True.
going from 16 to 20 for the Archimago. This is a bit unusual. We're not getting the full value. We're only healing 4. But it could be that we want to fill our graveyard to recast a card more easily going forward. It could also be that we're sitting on a 2nd divine healing, and so we know we can afford a bit of wastage on the first one.
No.
But the tokens now will need to be answered if you're the Pathfinder player. I think the tide has turned a little bit in the last couple of turns.
Yeah, when I play Archimago with any deck, like if I know I'm losing that because it's like the middle game, and the Archimago is back at 20 lives, all the damage has been negated, and probably there are some spells in the graveyard, and I'm struggling. So that is what I'm seeing here as well.
Yeah. So after casting guards, there's a couple of cards that you could realistically expect from a Pathfinder, something like a Whirling Blades or some kind of AOE that would get rid of all of them. We start seeing attacks one by the Pathfinder minions. There's been a bit of a rule mishap here that we both missed on
I
the
see.
day, where the princess should not have died because it was protected by the shield maidens.
Exactly.
We didn't catch it on the day. I'm only noticing it now, if I'm honest. If I remember the next turn correctly, it won't have an impact on the game because I think both minions of his would have died anyway. But always good to catch these when possible. And then we see the Archimago players with the tokens starting to go on the offensive. That's down to 18 for the Pathfinder.
Yes.
And this is what I meant. We have an AoE that could have gotten both the princess and the shield maidens if we had played that correctly anyway. So not the end of the world. We see one more attack down to 17, and then the other ones are just getting in position.
Yeah.
And the root spider going to match the other root spider. Always a bit scary to do so against the Nair deck because they could have a grapple shot. But at this stage of the game, if they spend, roughly half of their mana grapple shotting a spider, I think it's not too bad for Archimago. The spider is not a menace. You are ahead on board already, so I think it's a reasonable decision at that stage.
Yeah, definitely. I think Grapple Shot is probably one of the more scarier cards. So if that is used just to kill a root spider, basically, that's fine.
Exactly.
And the root spider that is then left over, you can only deal with 1 minion. And now we see a clansman
Yes.
that is
We see
not having charge.
Exactly. So something we didn't call out when this was played, this mirror realm that is below the Grandmaster Wizard came in to copy a Pebble Path. So unknowingly, the Archimago player created a full lockdown versus charge minions. There is not a single space that is not in the Pathfinder's back row that is not affected by Pebble Path. And the Clansman comes in, it can't attack. It's essentially a 7 mana play of 5 power minion, and that's it. It's basically an Amazon warrior that costs too much.
Yeah, we see that the root spiders being traded off. And as you say, I think Pebble Path, it's just such a bomb against some decks. The Powies are just unplayable anymore. And yeah, as you say, with the Mirror Realm, etc., it's not always that difficult to cover the whole realm or your part of the realm.
Yeah, we see 4 soldiers attacking, so that will bring the life down to, I believe, 13. And then 2 of them are moving up.
Yeah, I have the live recording here, and they say it's 15. So I don't know if that then was missed, but now more damage is being...
Ooh, you're right. I think one of them moved into my site. And then we have a major explosion. So that's why some of the soldiers moved to the left of your screen. We wanted to make room and both get rid of the Highland Clansman, but also deal damage to the Pathfinder avatar directly.
So I have you at 8 life, or Eunice at 8 life.
Yep, that's correct. That's the 15 minus the 7 from major. So you're all good.
So yeah, now when I look at your cemetery, there is another guards, there is healing, there is earthquake, there's major explosion.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, this is where I'm starting to feel more in control. We see a divine healing, but for every spells that he cast, I can cast mine twice. So it's just going to take longer if he heals, but it is not the end of the world. We have the Pathfinder going back up to 15 after that divine healing.
Yeah.
But unless the board gets answered, I think the Archimago player is still in a very favorable position at that stage. Yeah, I had to move the graveyard on the other side, which unfortunately catches the lightning.
Yeah.
But
But Major Explosion Water cards, is that addition also against Feast for Crows?
it helps having a bit of redundancy in your big spells that deal damage. So Craterize is obviously the main one, but having a second smaller one in Major Explosion is helpful. It's also great against your opponent's guards. So if you expect a mirror match, guards come down on turn 6. If you're the one on the play and you can have your 7th mana, then you can immediately enter with the guards that will both kill all the soldiers but also deal damage. So
Yeah, I was recently testing a deck, and I played with guards, and my opponent played with major explosions. And after, I don't know, 10 games, I was so used to it. I would cast guards, and next turn I would take 7 damage, and basically the whole everything from the guards was gone.
And so we see an Atlas Wanderers from Eunice and Pathfinder switching 2 sides. Although I think most are still being covered by Pebble Path. Maybe he's created a little bit of an opening on the top left if he manages to play a side there.
Yeah.
But this is what we called at the beginning of the game when we asked, who's favored in this matchup. I think the minions from Pathfinder they're big, but they're all a bit too fair, and Archimago is a deck that packs all the good removals, and so dealing with 5 power minions after 5 power minions is actually not a huge issue for that deck.
Yeah, indeed. And now dying by 1,000 cuts, I would say.
Yes. I think we're gonna aim for a 10 life on the Pathfinder, if I'm correct. Because I have a feeling that's potentially a Craterize coming.
Okay.
But let's see. Just a last check. How much mana? We're counting. And we are going. Here's the big spell. That's the Craterize for 10. Discarding, I believe, the third Pebble Path. Weirdly. It is going to kill the Kettle Top Leprechaun. It is going to deal a little bit of damage to the Archimago as well. 10, 7, 4, 2, I believe. But most importantly, we have brought the Pathfinder on this door, which is obviously the goal for the Archimago player. And looking at the graveyard, tons of options to then deal that death blow in the following turn.
Yeah, I mean, you have the Craterize, so like he needs already more than 10 points of healing. I don't know, not healing doesn't matter. So is there a way out? I don't think so, right?
I
Like
think
some
no.
protection spells, or Ninane amulet.
Yeah, there's still a dispel in the Archimago player's graveyard, so even the amulet of Ninyan wouldn't do it, I think.
All right,
yeah.
that is game 1. Congratulations, Geoffrey. Yeah, that was very convincing. So, Eunice, how did he take it? Did he know what was happening, or did you talk about it afterwards?
Yeah, so we had a bit of a chat after the game. We talked about the Pebble Path because for a long time, so I didn't know what his deck was supposed to do, right? I saw the 2 colors, but I was like, hey, how come in the mid game, you didn't really present any threats, etc. And he told me, well, your 3 Pebble Path actually shut down my deck really, really hard. And so we talked about his deck. We looked at the Highland Clansman, the Thundering Giant, like all of those, like, supposed to be the things that you ramp towards, very ineffective in that scenario. And I didn't know that. I was a bit lucky to randomly mirror realm for a Pebble Path, which helped a lot. But yeah, kind of a silver bullet sight in that case.
Sure. Okay, that wraps it up for us. This was round 2 of the European Crossroads. Stay tuned. Next round, it's, of course, round number 3, Leo versus Cataval Trades. And this is also some very big minions going against an Avatar of Air. So stay tuned and see you in our next episodes.